Stephanie is establishing with her students the learning focus and why the learning is important for them. She builds into this introductory lesson plenty of time for student talk so they can make personal connections to their learning. You will notice that there are anchor charts posted in the classroom for students to refer to on a need basis as they work independently.
Today we are learning to summarize nonfiction text. Why are we doing this? This is because summarizing can help us in many ways. Now what I'd like you to do is turn to your partner and think pair share. What does it mean to summarize? So I'll give you 1 minute to discuss with your partner what it means to summarize. So what are some things that you and your partner discuss? What does it mean to summarize? Mamta.
You have to make sure that you're only putting in the important facts.
Goggin.
When summarizing, you're determining the important ideas and making a brief paragraph.
Jimmy?
You have to include the author's purpose.
Include the author's purpose or the key message in the text. Have we missed anything? Anything that you and your partner discussed?
To use your own words.
That's right. It's important that we use our own words. Why else is it important to use your own words? What is that showing?
So you can understand the text.
So it's important that we're using our own words so that whoever's reading our summary knows that we understand the text because we are putting it in our own language. Okay? Is there anything else? Nikita?
You have to make sure it's in sequential order.
Okay, when you're summarizing, yes, you have to put it in the order of things that happen, in a logical order. Okay? Now what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to turn to your partner and I want you to discuss when you've used this strategy or when you've seen this strategy of summarizing used. Okay, so turn to your partner. I'll give you a minute to have a discussion. Okay, eyes over here. So what are some things that you and your partner discuss in terms of when you can use this strategy as well as when you've seen the strategy used? Dion.
I saw it used in a commercial where they only give you the important ideas of the product they're selling and it's really brief.
When you study for a test, you get the main ideas that you learned in math, for example, and you study those main ideas so the next day on the test you do well.
Mamta.
When you're doing a book talk, you could use summarizing because you're just giving a brief summary of what you read or what the book is about.
Nina.
Maybe in sports highlights, like they don't give you the whole game on the news, they just give you the important facts, like who won and the goals.
Is there anything else that you and your partners talked about? Aditi.
We talked about how when you go home after school, your parents, they ask you how was your day. What you're actually doing is you're giving them a summary about what your day was. You give them a short, brief summary, not
That's right.
like every little detail.
Okay, you're giving them a short, brief summary. Although I know a lot of you, when your parents say, what did you do today? Nothing, all right? But when you're explaining to them just the highlights of your day, you're giving them a brief summary, and that's what they want to know. They want to know what happened during your day. And actually, when I walked around to some of the groups, I heard that a lot. A lot of you were saying, when you're having a conversation with a friend, or when you're having a conversation with parents, you're actually summarizing what happened, whether it was what you watched on TV the night before, whether it was what happened when you went on vacation, when you went away for the weekend, or what you did during the day. Okay, thank you. Now, before we move on, what I want to do is I want to review the anchor chart we created together on what effective summarizing is. So I'm going to turn to the sheet right here, and I had it covered so that when you talked with your partners, you'd be using your own ideas. Okay? And effective summaries. It includes a title and author. States the main idea of the text, and that came out a lot in your discussions. Okay, so when we talked about what it means to summarize, a lot of you were talking about this main idea, and that's important. You include the important details that support the main idea. And these are the questions like who, what, where, when, why, and how. And in your summary, you want to answer these questions, because that means that you're getting the important details. You want to include the key message or the author's purpose. What are some of the purposes they can have for writing that text? Vivetha.
To inform, to persuade, or to entertain.
You are the authors of your speeches. So you are deciding whether you are going to inform the audience on your topic, to persuade them, or you're going to entertain them based on your topic. Another thing we have to make sure we do is omit interesting details. Specific details do not belong in a summary. Omit interesting details. Now, as I read that, it sounds a little funny. So omit interesting details, then that means that we can add maybe the boring things like brushing your teeth and having breakfast. So how can we reword that so that it makes sense?
Instead of writing omit interesting details, we could write omit the details that are not for important to the summary, and they still have to be interesting.
How about omit details even though they may be interesting, or even if they're interesting? So let's make that change. Omit details even if they are interesting. The next thing we want to make sure is that we're using our own words, and that came up a lot today. Okay, it's really important. Write details in a logical order so that they flow nicely and make sense. Do not include opinions. Why is it that we don't include opinions in a summary? Jimmy.
Because if you do that, you're putting words into the author's mouth.
And use transition words to combine ideas. And we brainstormed a whole list of transition words, and it's on our chart at the front of the class, about different words we can use in order to combine the ideas and make them flow. What you're going to do right now is we are going to do a shared reading of a text, and we're going to practice writing an effective summary using this anchor chart. So we're going to read the text together, and then we're going to summarize the text using a strategy called the gist. And I'll model it, and then I'm going to ask you for your input as well to help me write that summary.